Welcome. This is the info session for the Regional Arts and Culture Council's new grant, the Portland Arts Project Grant. Today, we're going to go through team introductions. We're going to cover about RACC. We're going to walk through the new grant guidelines, as well as an overview of the application, and make sure that you understand the opportunities for support. So we're going to start off with the team. My name's Ingrid Carlson. I'm a grants officer at RACC. My pronouns are she, her. And I am working to coordinate this program on behalf of our partnership with the City of Portland Office of Arts and Culture. I am here to answer questions. I will be responding to email questions. I will be answering phone calls. And I'm just here to make sure this process goes smoothly for you as the applicant. And then through the panel review process and our wrap up when the award letters go out. So I'm here through it all, and I'm making sure it all happens with the least amount of pain as possible. Yael?
Hi, I'm Yael Amir. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the grants program specialist on this new grant program. I will also be helping with your questions and assistance to the applicants, and I will be facilitating panels when it's panel season, which is upon us. Benjamin.
Hi, everybody. My name is Benjamin Feinstein. My pronouns are he, him, and I will be working on this program on administrative issues, coordinating stuff with Ingrid and Yael to keep the program running, particularly around working with community reviewers to put the actual panel sessions together. And then when it comes time to review the applications that we receive, I'll be facilitating some of those panels and leading the groups toward decision-making as well. Nikki.
Hello, my name is Nikki Cook. I use he, him pronouns. I also work at RACC, and through this program, I will be supporting mostly behind the scenes, monitoring our online platform, calculating some of our scores, and facilitating a few panels as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Go team. All right, for the rest of the info session, it's going to be Yael and I walking you through. So thank you, Benjamin and Nikki, and we'll see you on the other side. Okay. I have to share my screen again. So, about the Regional Arts and Culture Council. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that supports the arts community and the creative economy in the greater Portland area. We serve the Tri-County region with funding services to artists, creatives, and arts organizations, manage a growing and diverse nationally acclaimed public art program, and develop enduring public and private partnerships. You can always get up-to-date information about our services and our resources at racc.org, all knowing that our mission is to enrich our communities through arts and culture. So we want to make sure and highlight the fact that RACC is working on our values-based grant making. We've been doing this for a number of years, and it continues to be important in all the programs that we develop and provide, including the Portland Arts Project Grant. Our values are accessibility, advocacy, equity, diversity, community, and innovation, and those factor into the development of programs. You will find them written into the grant guidelines. They're built into the application itself. And we want to make sure that you spend the time to read these definitions, understand these values, and know that it's important to our community reviewers and in the final grant decisions. So if you ever have any questions about what values-based grant making means to RACC, let us know. I can't get the thing to work. There we go.
There we go.
Grant
All right,
grant.
so we are going to be talking about the Portland Arts Project Grant and how it is similar and a little different from our previous grant program. So this multidisciplinary grant program is offered in partnership with the City of Portland. It's available to support the making and sharing of artistic work and the development of the arts community in Portland. That's one difference. Individual artists, arts organizations, arts businesses, and other nonprofits are eligible to apply for grant funding to support arts programs and activities that have community impact. So that's a difference between Arts 3C, our previous grant program, and this new grant program is that we're asking what you're requesting funding for has a public component, meaning that it engages publicly with the community in person or virtually in some way. This can be a screening, an exhibition, a talk, a gathering, a reading, digital distribution, a performance, and so on. The awards are from $1,000 to $5,000. That's what you can request. Application length and requirements increase with the amount of funds that you request. Once you request for over $4,000 or $4,000 or $5,000, you have to answer a few more questions in the application. And this is all detailed in the guidelines that are found on our website. The deadline for the grant application is October 23rd. That's a Wednesday, and it's by 5 p.m. We set it to 5 p.m. rather than midnight so that we can assist any technical issues or glitches that there might be in the system. So please make note of this time of the deadline. And another difference is that this year there's only one grant cycle. So this is the only deadline that you will have in this year for this grant. And it's for funding of activities that are taking place in the next calendar year, so in 2025. And let's go on to who can apply. So this grant is for artists, arts organizations, art businesses, or other organizations, and this includes schools. The eligibility is limited to applicants legally residing or headquartered within the City of Portland service area. And you can find a link to the map detailing the boundaries in the guidelines and on our website. You have to close all your existing grants by completing the required final report. So that includes Arts 3C, Make, Learn, Build grants, any project grants from way back. You will be allowed to apply. You will see the option to apply for this grant in the RACC opportunity portal, but you will not be able to receive an award if you're selected for an award if you have not completed your final reports by the time those decisions are made. You will be asked to provide RACC with a W-9 form if you receive the grant. And any grantee without a 501c3 status will receive a 1099 NEC form at the end of the tax year. And then
so what are some other considerations when applying for the Portland Arts Project Grant? Collaborations are welcome, but only one eligible applicant should apply. This might be the person who is based in the Portland service area. They would be an ideal applicant for any collaborations going forward. It's also okay to be an applicant as well as being listed in other proposals or be a collaborator on someone else's project application. That's fine. Just be mindful of how many applications you're submitting and taking on that work. Art students at the time of application are not eligible. So if you are enrolled in a degree or certificate program in the arts on October 23rd, regardless of when your graduation date is, if you haven't graduated yet, you are not eligible to apply. Finish your degree and then come to RACC for funding. Organizations that receive general operating support from RACC last year in 23-24 and are receiving that support from the City of Portland this fiscal year are not eligible to apply for the Portland Arts Project Grant. The end date, and we talked about this, and the public presentation must be set in 2025. Things that have already taken place prior to the end of 2024 are not eligible. So if you have any questions about that, that's a good thing to check in with the RACC team. ADA accessibility of your venue for your public presentation is required. Please note that it's asked in the application for you to verify that. Grant awards are taxable income if you are not a 501c3. So make sure you are tracking that income, you're tracking that all of your expenses, and consult a tax professional on how that's going to impact your tax liability. As noted in the guidelines, the RACC team and board are not eligible to apply. And this is a new program in partnership with the City of Portland. The Office of Arts and Culture is also partnering with the Friends of IFCC and Music Oregon on some small grant programs. And applicants are eligible and welcome to apply for multiple grants to the different service providers, but you cannot receive more than 5,000 of this funding source. So keep that in mind as you're filling out your applications.
All right, so now we're gonna go over the grant program process and the review process for this grant program. So as we mentioned, the applications are due on Wednesday, October 3rd by 5 p.m. Panels are scheduled for November, December, and early January, so a little different timeline than usual. And the announcements are planned by the end of February 2025. All applicants will be notified by email regardless of the outcome. So whether you receive the grant or not, sometimes our emails tend to go into spam folders or the promotions folder. So please add grants@racc.org to your safe sender list. And you can always, regardless of the email issue, you can always see the status of your grant by logging into your account on the RACC Opportunity Grant Portal. Grantees are strongly encouraged to claim their grant funds as soon as possible and prior to June 30th, 2025.
So we wanted to make sure and go over the review criteria because it's important to keep this in mind as you're writing your application. There are 5 scored review criteria: strength of concept, quality of art making and the experience, impact on the applicant, engagement with an audience and or community, and financial readiness. The definitions as outlined on the slide are in the guidelines. Make sure and read them and to understand them, and know that the community reviewers will be assigning a score between 1 and 7 for each of those first 5 criteria. In addition, we have the core values alignment, which the panelists will give a yes, no, unsure answer to this idea of, is this project and proposal meeting one or more of RACC's core values as defined in our guidelines and the City of Portland's commitment to inclusively serving the community? And you'll find in the guidelines this statement on the City of Portland's desire to focus on underserved communities. So in the panel review and in the discussion, we're going to be considering, is this proposal has core values alignment with RACC and the City of Portland's focus? So be thinking about that as you're writing your application. In addition, I just want to really point out how important it is to check out the guidelines. We ask you to read them. You have to check a box that says you've read them when you fill out the application. Don't just say yes, actually read through them, because you're going to find information about guidance on choosing a grant request level, what it means to choose the discipline or category, information about how the panel review process goes. You're going to find that definition of RACC's core values. You're going to find that definition of the City of Portland's focus on investing in underrepresented populations. You're going to find details about how to administer your grant award, as well as what you might be tracking for the final report. It's all there. So be sure you spend the time, not just listen to the info session, but read the guidelines before you apply. All right. We're going to get now into the application. All of our grant applications are hosted and submitted through the RACC Opportunity Portal. This is just a screenshot of what it looks like for the Portland Arts Project Grant. There are 2 links. The RACC.org/apply link will take you to the grant that's hosted at SurveyMonkey Apply. The direct link is rac.smapply.org. We had some web issues last year, so I want to make sure and include both links. It'll take you to the same place. What you're going to do is you're going to create an account and fill out an eligibility profile, and that's going to give you access to the types of RACC opportunities that you are eligible to apply for. If you already have an account in the system, you can request your password. You can contact RACC staff if you need us to help look up what your email was for your original account. Trying to, keep all the reporting and the applications in one place. But once you've filled out that eligibility profile, you will then have access to seeing the grant just like this and can click on the green apply button. If you don't see that opportunity, it's likely that you are not eligible. So if you're having problems, if you can't find the Portland Arts Project Grant, make sure that your application or your eligibility profile has the correct address and that you're within the boundaries of the city of Portland. All right. We also want you to think about in your eligibility profile how you are doing your business and how you want to apply. Are you doing work as an individual artist, or are you representing an arts organization, arts business with your proposal? That's going to have an impact on how you write the application and how you will be paid once you are awarded a grant. It's a lot easier to have that sorted out before you apply than trying to change application grant recipients after the fact. We also sometimes group applications based on how people have filled out their eligibility profile, as in putting individual artists together and putting organizations together on a panel. So it does have an impact. When we just want you to be consistent throughout the process, how you fill out the profile and how you apply and how you choose to receive funds. So I also wanted to point out here that what you'll see when you log in and start your application is this series of tasks: the applicant info, the application itself, budget, and then upload of the support material. Each of those tasks will get marked as complete, and you'll see the little green checkbox, and then the submit button will become green when all the required tasks are done, and you have to complete those tasks and click that green submit button no later than 5 o'clock on the day of the deadline. So keep all that in mind.
All right, so we're gonna linger a little bit on the primary artistic discipline and the request categories questions. Please remember that when you are choosing your primary artistic discipline, and the choices are detailed for you on the screen, of course, in the application, and you can preview them in our guidelines. When you choose your primary discipline, please think of what the context that you want your project to be reviewed within. So for instance, if you're a burlesque dancer, would you want professionals from the dance movement community reviewing your application, or maybe from theater, or a multi-discipline performance? These selections are impacting where you are going to be reviewed and which panel you will be placed in. The RACC team members are going to take the lead from the applicants, and the selection in this category is important for that reason. If you don't see your discipline represented here, you have the choice to select other discipline, and then you will have the option of filling that in. After you select your primary artistic discipline, you will have the option to detail the request categories, which is the next slide. And then This refers to what kind of activity you are applying for. And the boxes you check here should relate directly to how you are writing your application and how you're presenting your project. So if you check art in K-12 schools, please provide details about the students you're servicing, the type of program that you're going to be building, any prior experience that you might have with working within schools. Just please don't check the box randomly and make sure it's reflective of how of your written proposal and vice versa. So next we're going to talk about starting the application. So you're going to be asked to provide a working title. This is not a commitment. This is a reference. It will be if you are awarded. This is what we're going to use in the announcement. Then you'll be asked to select the grant request amount, $1, $2, $3, $4, or $5,000, and then the time frame of your project, the start date, when does the planning begin for the proposed work or activity, and the proposal end date. So the proposal end date and the public presentation must be set for 2025. It cannot be before 2025 in order to be eligible to apply for this grant. Activities that have already taken place prior to 2025, regardless of what you submitted in your end date, will not be considered.
So then we're going to get into the application questions, and these first 5 applications are required of everybody. The first one being, tell us about your project or activity. And we've coached you here, provide as much detail and information as you can, the content, the story, the themes, as well as the technique and approach, and what the intended outcome is. What is that final project? It's the most characters of any of our questions, 1,200 characters. So use that space to detail your project. This is the blurb that would be going into our press release. This is the description that tells you step by step what is happening, but also what is it about? What is the motivation behind this project? What is it that you're exploring? Your artistic vision, as well as the sort of concrete elements, the journalistic element of your project. Question number 2, does this request involve other artists, admin support, staff or board, community groups, vendors, service providers, etc.? You answer yes or no, and then you get the narrative question and 1,000 characters to answer. If yes, who is involved? What are they doing as part of this project? And why did you select them? What are they bringing to the project? What are their credentials? What are their, not just their roles, but why are they so amazing that you want them part of your project? And you can talk about vendors in that way. You can talk about, community groups you're excited to work with. Give us that sort of who on the project is supporting the activities you've outlined in number 1. If the answer is no, if this is really a solo project, if you're creating a body of work on your own, that's okay. You get to answer the question for your work. As the only artist involved, outline what you're doing, like a sort of detailed exploration of the role that you're playing and all the work that goes into making the project happen. Question number 3. How does this request impact you and move your artistic work forward? This is for all applicants, for individual artists, for arts businesses, for organizations. How does doing this specific activity, this specific project, help you grow? Is it pushing you into a new direction? Are you partnering with new collaborators that are going to help you reach new audiences? How are you stretching yourself, really growing and creating an investment in you and or your organization's work or your business's work that shows the value of this financial investment in you? But it's more about the you know, what's the outcome that artistically is your growth. Question number 4, how will you engage with the public in the Portland area in a presentation or activity as part of the proposal? These are project grants that require that engagement, sharing of an outcome. Include the name of the anticipated venue, location, or digital platforms if you're planning to share the outcome on a website, on a streaming app, something, you know, let us know. How do you plan to share the outcomes with the community? And then we do ask, is this location ADA accessible? Yes, no, or unknown, please explain. You should all be answering yes, but there is the option if there is something else to take into consideration. And then question number 5, who is the audience or participants for the public engagement, and what is your promotion, marketing, outreach, or distribution plan? Who are you looking to share this work with, and how are you going to reach them? We do ask a number of how many people you estimate will attend or participate in the public engagement. Be thoughtful about that. Don't just throw out giant thousands and thousands of people are going to click on your Instagram. That's not what we're asking. Like, how many people will really have a meaningful experience with your project? The other thing I want to say about question number 5 is be thinking about RACC's core values, as well as the City of Portland's desire to invest in underrepresented communities. How can that be part of your project planning and make a difference for this with this grant? All right, so those are all the questions for 1,000 through 5,000. But as you get higher, as you ask for more money, 4,000 or 5,000 level, there's additional questions. Number 6, for 4,000 or 5,000 requests, please describe the overall expected timeline for your proposal between your start and end dates. So keep in mind what you answered earlier in the application, including the estimated time frame for development, execution, promotion, and any final presentations. Like, we're really kind of looking for an outline, clarity in planning. That's the review criteria I think about most when I think about this question, like that you know what it takes to get this project done, and you have an estimated timeline for how it's going to play out. I'll also say, from RACC's perspective, every project takes longer than you think it's going to, and that's okay. We anticipate that, we expect that, but we want you we want to know in the proposal that you've done the planning ahead of time for how you're going to have this project succeed. Question number 7. What accessibility considerations are you making to support your audience or participants? Don't just skip this question. It's important to be thinking about access and about how you are making your project open to all. That might be in ASL interpretation, closed captioning, other sort of physical or technical support. It also might be in financial support, making something more accessible through scholarships or subsidized tickets, engaging youth with free tickets, things like that. So be thinking about accessibility in all the ways if you're asking for additional funds. And then for those grant applications that are asking for the full 5,000, we ask you to answer the question, which of RACC's core values and the City of Portland's focus on communities align with your proposal? Read the guidelines, have clarity around those core values: accessibility, advocacy, equity, diversity, community, and innovation, as well as how your project is helping support bringing art to a wide range of Portlanders, the underserved communities of Portland, how that fits in, and to answer that question for the full 5K. And then the last question, which again is asked of everybody, is a closing statement. And I think that this is actually a really valuable question for everybody. It's like summing up, making that final pitch to the panel reviewers. The question is, the Portland Arts Project grants are investments in the creative landscape of the local community that have been paid into by the community. Knowing that, is there anything else you would like the community reviewers to know in support of your application? You're making the case. You're saying how this is valuable and invaluable is a valuable, invaluable, both investment of grant dollars, taxpayer dollars, your community's dollars in making this project happen. How is it serving and growing the overall community? It could be anything, but it's important to kind of make that pitch. Okay.
Okie doke, the budget. So we try to keep the budget consistent and simple. So you're going to see two tables in the application. One is for your proposed costs, what you anticipate your project costing, what the expenses are. And then the other one is what money do you feel like you anticipate coming in order to cover these costs for the project. So in the expenses table, we ask you to describe what the expense is. For instance, 7 tubes of oil paint and 10 paintbrushes, and then have the amount listed, estimated amount based on the research that you've done. And then in the revenue table, you list the projected revenue of, for instance, your RACC grant request. So if you're asking for $2,000 in this grant request, then you list RACC project grant and the amount 2,000. And then any other sources of cash that you might have. If you're applying for other grants for the same project, you can list those and say that they're projected. You'll see there's a table of confirmed or projected. You select projected when you don't have the money in hand yet. You can also say that you will be contributing the rest of the rest of the money to cover your expenses. So if your project is $7,000 and you're asking for $2,000 from RACC, then you'll write applicant cash in the remainder for the remainder $5,000. Your totals of the expenses table and the revenue table must be identical. And you want anything that you've listed in the expenses table to correlate, to match what is listed in the revenue table. Also list in-kind support of any donated goods or services. If you have a friend or a colleague volunteering their time, for instance, in designing the invitations for your event, you can list them. You can, for instance, say graphic design services, confirmed, if you've confirmed this with the person, and then write what that would be. And then in the expenses column, you would say promotional material and the same number in the amount. And that goes for food and any other in-kind venue, any other in-kind expenses you might have. Again, the budget should balance, so the total amounts should be the same number. And then the supplementary materials and tasks remaining in the application. Individual applicants should upload their artistic resume or bio. We request that. All applicants should upload resumes or bios for the main collaborators that they might have on the project, or contractors, consultants, other lead staff in the organization, whatever applies to your project and has been confirmed. Then we ask you to provide work samples that showcase your previous work in programming and the samples of other key artists or contractors that are involved in supporting your proposed project. And then we also ask for cost research documentation to verify that you are aware of the actual costs of the project, what you listed in the budget. This can be a screenshot of a conversation that you had with someone who is confirmed that they can contribute their services, even if it's not like a a proper invoice, an email exchange quoting the price of their services. It could be screen grabs of prices that you find in online retailers for the materials that you're asking, flight costs, anything that you are listing in the budget. Please provide documentation that you have done the research of what the actual costs are. Then there's an optional opportunity for all applicants to include information that's relevant to the activity or the event outlined in the proposal. This could be video introductions, letters of invitation or support, brochures, links to website, proposals for consultants, and any other materials that provide detail about the opportunity. Applicants working with a fiscal sponsor, please upload an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, to show and confirm this fiscal relationship. And then finally, individuals are going to be asked to provide demographic information, and organizations are going to be asked to provide demographics that are specific to the project as part of the required reporting of this to the City of Portland within this grant agreement. This information is separate from the grant application, and it will not be visible to the community reviewers, the panelists who will be looking at the application.
So moving forward, opportunities for support. Just want to make sure that you keep the following in mind, that you're submitting in the RACC opportunity portal, and that's where reviewers will be doing their reviews. It's all online. Make sure you check your links and your passwords. Nothing is more heartbreaking than getting to the panel discussion and folks couldn't see there was a bad link for the work samples. I would also say that the online system says you can upload, I think it's YouTube. It's got some, you can put some links directly in. If it's not allowing you to put in a link, because this is a technical issue we've heard in the past, it's based on the provider, it's not RACC. Put those links into a document, save it as a PDF, and upload the document. Folks can go directly from links that you've provided through an upload. I want to also just briefly touch on RACC's conflict of interest policy. If we engage with a community reviewer who has a perceived or a real conflict of interest with an application, they will mark that, they self-declare that conflict of interest. They do not read and score the applications. They do not participate in any panel discussion, and they don't have a score in the final ranking. That real would be if somebody was involved in an application. Perceived would be if they have a relationship with the applicant, or past relationship that might just either positively or negatively affect their ability to review. We take it seriously, as do our reviewers. You can link, there's a link to it from the guidelines if you care to read the whole conflict of interest policy. The grant awards will take into account funding sources. That's one of the impacts for this Portland Arts Project Grant. It also, the funding sources are city funds as well as the Arts Education and Access Fund arts tax dollars. That does impact some of or how we can make awards. The panel rankings. So each panel will come up with their own recommendation for the panel rankings. So we will be funding the same percentage across all the panels. And then also, I just want to acknowledge reaching underserved communities is a priority for the City of Portland. It fits into RACC's core values, and we do collect that demographic information so that we can, behind the scenes, make sure that we are serving the whole community and reveal any unintentional bias and make corrections for that. So I'm highlighting again, everybody will be notified. If you submit an application, you will receive a response by email, whether you are funded or not. Those are expected to go out the end of February. You can always check your account, because at the same time those emails go out, we make a note on whether your application was awarded or declined. So If you don't see that in your online account, decisions have not yet been made. And as we go forward, please email your questions to grants@racc.org. That comes to Yael and myself. We're working really hard to support the applicants through this process. Our phone numbers are on the website. You can make a call. I just want to point out that both of us are working part-time, so this is what we're working on, but if you can't reach us, it's likely because we're not available in that moment, but we will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Read the guidelines. There's so much detailed information in there, more than we can go through in an info session. You'll find probably whatever it is you're wondering about is addressed in the guidelines somewhere. We also have an FAQ online on the website. We are planning to do an Instagram Live in October. So, you know, if you have a specific question that would actually be of benefit to the wider community, maybe you could attend our Instagram Live and share that with us in the chat. We do provide translation services and accessibility needs. Reach out. grants@racc.org is the best way to communicate with us through this process. If you are looking for translation services or accessibility needs, please give us some time to do that. The closer we get to the deadline, the harder it's going to be able to meet those needs in a timely and a manner. And hate for that to be the case. So please reach out. And then I put a couple important links in here because there's just always more information online. You can go to the RACC website. There's a page dedicated to this grant program. The online system at racc.smapply.org for filling out the application. Please, if you have more information or more questions about the Office of Arts and Culture and their small grant program overall, go to portland.gov/arts-grants. And I put the link to the portlandmaps.com if you're having questions about where you fall in the city of Portland service area. All that there. You can Google any of that too to get more information. And that's it. I'm going to stop sharing before I stop this recording just so that we can say goodbye. Thank you.
Bye,
Please reach
everyone.
out.